Beth, thank you so much for having us here today on the very first day of your new
Foundrae
Upper East location. We were talking before this interview began just about how everyone who buys a piece really has a story that's connected to how they got it. Was that an intentional thing, or did that just kind of happen?
No, I mean, definitely the entire collection was really conceived to be, I describe it as tools of self-discovery and self-expression. And I really wanted each piece to be able to be put together in a way that really expresses, your story more so than screams, Foundrae. And it just makes it really personal, and it ends up being, I want to say, becoming kind of a second skin for the people that wear it and expresses who they are.
Yeah, and it's an immediate form of connection too. It's like the ultimate icebreaker if you see somebody wearing a piece, because you get to ask about their story and how they selected their items, and you tell them yours.
I honestly feel, for me, I designed the symbols before I designed the jewelry when I was thinking of Foundrae. It was, for me, all about the idea that we really need to hold these symbols in front of us in order to actualize them. And that you might not stop to think about the things that matter to you most throughout the day because you get so busy just doing. And the symbols help you to just to keep it in front of you. And I think that it even ends up allowing you to have more substantive conversations with other people, because instead of just saying, nice to meet you, what do you do? Oftentimes people will say, oh, wow, that's unique. What does that mean? And then if you answer, oh, this represents wholeness, your entire conversation after that is going to be different, because you're going to end up talking about, like, what does wholeness mean to you? And you're going to get to know this person on a more personal level. And I really think that's what we're trying to do, is allow, give people space to reflect on what's important to them, what are their core values, but also, milestones in their life that they want to either memorialize or celebrate, but then also inspire their next chapter. We want them to start thinking about, what's next, and, what do I want to put in front of me, so then that way I make it a bigger part of my life.
Interesting. Yeah, there's something that feels very ancient about that, almost too religious. It's like people wear crosses or they wear other things that are symbolic to them, and yet so much of most popular modern jewelry, without naming names, it's like everyone has the same bracelet and the same necklace and the same watch, and this feels like such a deviation from that.
The whole point of really creating custom jewelry, and the symbolism behind it, it is ancient. And it's intended to be timeless. And so that's one of the reasons why I really choose kind of classic silhouettes, and because I want they're investments. So I want people to wear it for the rest of their lives, but then I also want it to be passed down to the next generation. And we constantly talk about the collection as modern heirlooms, but it's not the weight of the gold that we think that you're really passing down to the next generation. It's the story behind it. So we want you to tell, your kids and the grandchildren, this piece means resilience. And, I wore it because, and you could say, there's something you went through in your life where you needed, resilience at that moment, or that you feel that resilience is one of the most important things that you were taught, and that you want to impart that to them. And it really ends up becoming almost like a family seal or a motto, because it ends up being something that that you repeat often, and that becomes part of your identity.
Yeah, interesting. So I understand you were creating when you began this because you started your career in fashion.
Yes.
And then, I mean, that's not necessarily the most natural transition, right? A lot of people start their career in jewelry, stay in it. And that seems like a pretty dramatic shift from making clothes to sourcing materials and all of the things that are involved with jewelry.
So I wasn't even the creative in the fashion company. I started the business with my business partner, Rebecca Taylor, when I was 23. And even though I had been, always imagined myself in a creative role and, had gone, with the intention of being in design, at that point, I just, we kind of split the jobs and there was two of us. And then as the business grew, I became, more and more, really on that business side because you don't wear multiple hats anymore. And so part of launching Foundrae was really a bit of my own personal journey in reaction to that, in the fact that, it was a wonderful experience. I had an incredible partnership with Rebecca and, we built this beautiful business. We had, I think, 110 employees and most of them were women. And we really created a work atmosphere that I think, helped people achieve like a work-life balance in the fashion industry, which is not easy to achieve. But I ended up having to really, compartmentalize my life and do like my creative work outside of work. And then, my spiritual practice, was really, also compartmentalized. And I was 42 years old and I actually thought that I was done. And it's crazy that now that I say that. Now I'm 52, it's been 10 years. And I thought, well, that was great. And I guess I'll just keep on doing this. And it's really, like, for example, we have a tenet called wholeness, and it's about the idea that we have so many layers. And so like a snake, we have to continue to shed skin in order to reveal different parts of ourselves. And I needed that in my life, but I was also scared, so I needed strength, and a reminder that strength is within. I needed, needed reminders like with karma that I wasn't perfect and that, but luckily we put the crescent moon with it, which is about crescer, to grow. And because every day is a new day. And I thought, okay, every day I have another chance, to actually put out the energy in the world that I want to put out. And so I had really intended the symbols and the tenets to be kind of like an alphabet, where, people can take those letters and the alphabet and they put it together and it creates a word, then it creates a sentence, and then it creates a story. And it's really, that's how these pieces function.
How do you think about designing something that is personal to you and yet is also personal to everyone else who finds that and thinks, oh, that's me?
I am so glad that you asked that, because it's really important to me that I really lean into archetypal themes that I believe transcend time boundaries, cultural boundaries, and religious practices. So like, you will not see, for example, a cross or a Star of David here, because I don't want to create pieces where I say this one's for you and this one's for you, because then I'm basically saying that's not for you. And I don't want to say that. Instead, I like, we talk about spirituality and we talk about inner light, and I really want to say that's for everyone. And so every single symbol that we choose here, has a deeper meaning that has existed across hundreds, if not thousands, of years, and I really want to say it's part of the collective unconscious, and that, you might not think you know it, but then all of a sudden it resonates with you, and it's part of that, the pool of knowledge that we inherit and that's been passed down to us generation after generation.
Yeah, interesting. And would love to talk about the business itself too, because one of the things that seems striking about this is it sort of feels like a Lego store for women, right? It's like you can always get another set. You can always add to it. There's always more to get. You get the matching jewelry, and it signifies things in your life. So do you see a lot of stickiness in your business?
It's not just the fact that we're saying, you know, come and get more. We're also saying, bring us your collection that you already own. We have a bench jeweler on the premises, a hand engraver on the premises, and we can actually help you restyle it in a way where it evolves with you as you evolve. And so it constantly keeps the pieces fresh for people. I mean, last night I had this experience at our store downtown at Lisbonard, where a woman came in and she had, I think she had like 2 or 3 personal, you know, medallions or charms that weren't ours that, you know, she had added, and then she had probably, you know, our chain and another 3 Foundrae pieces. And she came in and she's like, help me, it's like a clump. She goes, I keep on adding them, but, you know, I'm not liking. So we restyled it for her, and she just really felt like she had an entirely new piece. And I think that's part of it, you know, that it's that we just keep on helping people renew what they have, and then they can add.
Yeah. And what is your vision for the brand moving forward? Do you want to keep adding new designs, or do you think that this kind of where you are now is enough to keep people coming back?
Well, I want to say that as a group, we are very prolific. I personally get energy from creating, and it's something that I don't want to stop doing. And so that has actually ended up helped us create a unique store experience that I've never heard of it from anyone else doing it, but we have what we call discovery drawers. And in the drawer, we're doing one-of-a-kind pieces that aren't on the website, that aren't photographed, that really are just exciting, you know, rabbit holes that people can open up and get lost in. And to me, it kind of, there's some nostalgia there, because it's why do retail stores exist? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they really are experiences that you can come here, find something that empowers or inspires you. You can work with a bench jeweler and engraver that you normally don't have access to. And so it's really passing the reins, the creativity reins, to the people that come into our doorway. And it is one of the reasons why we believe so much in opening new doorways, because, you know, we can't offer that same experience online. You know, we can't offer that same experience, you know, through wholesale stores. And so we really, you know, and not just about buying jewelry. I mean, we have our cards and our symbolism, and we really invite people to come in and just take them. And so I think, you know, I think it's the kind of place that you can spend time in, and that you leave either, you know, with a Foundrae bag or without one, and you still leave inspired.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm glad you touched on sort of the retail versus online distinction, because I understand you're opening this store, you're opening stores in Miami, and it seems like what you also have really created here with the store is it's jewelry, but it's also, you have books, you have symbols and cards and explaining what they mean. How many people would you say come in and purchase their jewelry versus online purchase their jewelry? Oh shoot,
I would say our largest percentage of sales is through our one door. Well, I'm so sorry. We have 2 doors now, Dallas and Lisbonard. But the website is still important simply because we're not everywhere. And so that's why we have client care specialists. We do these special books where we make up different options for people's, but there's a lot of, it's very personal. You know, I really feel that, you know, everyone that shops with us, whether it's online or in store, they really have a kind of a guided specialist that works with them and helps them explore, you know, all the options and tools that are really available to them.
Okay, interesting. But at the end of the day, you really feel like creating an experience here for a customer. And it's not just looking around. I know you also have a menu, you serve champagne and food. So it seems like a very welcoming environment where you want people to come and keep coming back.
It's also really two-way, because I personally, and I know our team, we get so inspired by the interaction we have with the people that come in. We in fact, we share the stories. Once a month we have a breakfast meeting where everyone that works on the retail team comes and shares 3 stories from that month of interactions they had with people, of why they bought their pieces and how they put together their story, and it's truly moving. And
what are some of the most compelling examples you've heard?
I mean, it's like, let me think, like last month, there was, and I didn't meet this person, but this, somebody from the team met them, and she lost her husband. And she ended up putting one of the crescent moons on her necklace, because she said that he always said, "I love you to the moon and back." And so it was just something that she could see on a day-to-day basis, and then I think hold them with her. And but it's not just memorials, it's also, we get a lot of women that are buying their first piece of jewelry that they've ever bought for themselves. And
that's a growing trend, it seems like, where women are buying their own jewelry.
It's so funny, because when I started I didn't even realize, and this is, I guess, one of the advantages of coming new into an industry, because from day one, I was only speaking to men and women that buy their own jewelry. I really, really saw it as building their own story. And so then when I found out from the industry norms that actually only 5% of total jewelry sales are sold to the individual, I just laughed so hard, because I thought, okay, well, I guess I'm going for a very small slice of the pie. I said, but we don't need to rule the world. And so
Has that number grown, though, of people who are buying their own jewelry?
Truthfully, I don't even know what the industry norms are, but I can tell you what we experience is that most people are buying their own jewelry, or are come in with a loved one and are very, proactive in terms of, selecting something that really speaks to their heart and reflects who they are. But I mean, there's also something so touching when other people come in and, Mother's Day, we always encourage people to really think about, who their mother really is. What, like, is she, the backbone of the family, the strength, and then for them to, choose the strength tenet for them. So we're not, we're just not the kind of, it's not the kind of collection where we just want them to say something that mom, because that's actually, we're trying to communicate to everyone that we're so much more than just a single label. We're not mom, we're not CEO, we're not, a television celebrity. We are, multi-dimensional people with many facets. And so we really want to talk more about qualities and traits and values, and children and love, but as part of, our entire life experience.
And when you were starting this, that's interesting that you, as you were beginning this company, were focused on targeting individuals, even though that wasn't necessarily the majority, or really anyone at all who's buying their own jewelry. And yet it's like, it seemed to strike a chord, right? It's like, you can only have so many Cartier bracelets. You can have presumably an endless number of charms and necklaces. So what did you know about the jewelry business when you were going into this? And how did that impact how you thought about building this brand?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I knew very, very little about the jewelry industry. What I did know was that I myself loved jewelry. And it was a very big part of how I presented myself to the world. That I liked it, and I tended to wear mostly vintage jewelry, although, and I had, really, for my own creative outlet over the years, I had, repurposed vintage jewelry and came up with different ways to work with it. And so I just felt, that there had to be, and again, for me, it was about the symbolism. And so when I started feeling like, how am I going to share this symbolism with people? Then I landed on jewelry that I saw.
So you wanted to just create something that was meaningful to you. That was your
Yes.
starting point.
My whole
and then
point
you landed on jewelry.
is how to live with symbols in a more meaningful way and make it a bigger part of your life. And then I really ended up using jewelry as a vehicle in which to communicate that, like a platform, and which then also ended up shaping the aesthetic of our jewelry, because we have surfaces, like signet rings and medallions and things in which I can build upon.
Mm-hmm. So if it wasn't jewelry, what would it be? What were the other ideas you were thinking of?
Well, I mean, we've really translated the symbols to like an entire Vertu collection now, which is, Vertu means like, collectible objects.
Okay.
And so we do, we have, hand painted plates made in Italy. We have our hand blown glass with engraving on it. We've got, brass bookends. So everything for us is about how personal and meaningful and full our lives should be. Mm-hmm. And so I think the fact that, we're adorning the body, but then we're going and adorning your home and your personal spaces, because we really do see, where you live as a window to your soul as well.
So you think this line, it started as jewelry.
Yeah. You're
exploring the home good space. Where do you think it could be next? Do you think this could be an even bigger product and brand than it is now?
I have a kind of an editing word where I look for, I say, I describe Foundrae as tools of self-discovery and self-expression. Mm-hmm. And so I've actually never said we make jewelry. I've always said, we use symbolism, to enrich your life. And so the fact that we can translate that symbolism in the same way that you can personalize things onto, other objects, such as the collectible home objects and, candles. But how I edit that is, I think it has to be an heirloom. You have to be able to pass it down. And so that actually keeps it from being, a fashion object or like, apparel. Because I want to recognize the investment and the art, and the classic craftsmanship behind all the objects that we do. And so I really want them to be, lifetime investments, that really extend beyond your own life.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, because a lot of jewelry pieces and anything that's in fashion, it feels like it's a trend, right? It comes and it goes. And so you're trying to avoid that by having something that feels a little more meaningful.
I feel we do avoid that. I think that, like I said, even, just by allowing the pieces to evolve with you means that it's not a trend. It means that, it's a lifetime piece that you'll continue to wear and enjoy, and that you'll always feel like is currently reflects who you are in that moment.
And tell me a little bit about your marketing approach too, because within it seems like a very short span of you starting this brand, it ended up in all of the right hands with celebrities at film festivals. What has your approach been to marketing? How did you get those products into their hands?
Gosh, I mean, I really have to just say that it's about authenticity. I think because...
was it having a storefront, do you think? Or
I mean, truthfully, a lot of the famous, known faces that you're probably talking about discovered us before we had the storefront. We opened up our first store in 2018, but we started retailing in 2016. And I just think that the idea that the collection developed, from my heart, and that there's, real soul imbued in each piece. And I think people can feel it.
Yeah.
And that, and because of that, it resonated. We talk a lot about the people that, come into our stores as seekers. People that are looking to continually evolve and grow and, think deeply about their lives. And so I think that those people are attracted to authenticity.
Mm-hmm. So do you think it's all been organic? Because I know you got a name check in the Wall Street Journal article talking about status and wealth.
It's definitely organic. It's we didn't do any kind of paid marketing whatsoever until last year for the first time. And so last year we did a billboard. We sent out like a catalog to people's homes, and it's been really exciting because it's so funny because when we had that billboard up, because our first store on Lisbonard, Lisbonard is, you probably don't know what it is. It's a street that's 2 blocks long, adjacent to Canal Street. And so when I first opened up the store there, my friends would make jokes that, what a great location. You opened right next to Gucci. And they meant like the fake Gucci bags that are being sold on the corner. And so it really had, to this day, 0 walking traffic. And so it, really relied on, organic, people telling other people where to find us or finding us on social media. And we've been, really happy with our growth and with the people that have come in. But then we did a billboard last year, and you can actually count your traffic. And then after we did the billboard, our traffic increase for that store was 70%. and then it's so funny because then you really realize, wow, okay, people really didn't know that a block away there's a store there. And so it's exciting for us to be able to open up on Madison because, there's walking traffic here. And now when I say Gucci's our neighbor, it really is Gucci. Yeah, it's not the fake bags on the corner of Canal.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, so it's exciting. And it's, I think hopefully it will just really allow us to get to know more people and to really share what we do with a greater variety of people.
Tell me more about the business, though. Did you have outside investors, and where do you see this going? Do you think you want to sell eventually? Do you want to take it public? What is your background,
Yeah.
and then what is your vision for the next 5 years?
Well, truthfully, my aspirations when I started Foundrae, it was not financial. I was in a very unusual position that I had already had a successful business from Rebecca Taylor and had sold that business. And so when we sold that business, we bought that store space that I'm in on Lisbonard and then our apartment. So for me, creating the collection for Foundrae was really about being able to grow as a person creatively and being still accessible to my kids and feeling like I was empowering other people. It's really important to me to feel like I wake up every day with a purpose. Mm-hmm. And my goal was truly to break even. Like I just thought, okay, if I can just break even doing this, then I can do this for the rest of my life. And this is bringing me great joy, tremendous satisfaction. And if I can do this for the rest of my life without losing money, because at first I lost a lot of money, I thought, that's all I need. And so in terms of like a business plan, we, really had a very humble business plan because, we didn't have any walking traffic and, so what has surprised me is how the business has grown. So that did take me by surprise. And then I feel like maybe I was scared at first about the growth because I had a larger business in the past, and while there are pluses and minuses to everything, and I love being hands-on, and I love meeting the individuals that come in. And so I was scared at first, but then I think what really changed it for me is I realized that I didn't have to be everything. And so I ended up hiring a CEO who really allowed me to continue to lean into the aspects of the business that I wanted to lean into, which was really the creative and spiritual and personal connections. And then she hired just incredibly talented individuals that are in every aspect of our business that, own their own area in a way like they're all entrepreneurs having their own businesses, within the umbrella of Foundrae. And so it makes me feel like I do have a small business and I can do what I want and I don't feel too stretched thin because we really are a collective of individuals that lean on each other and that each individual's strengths are amplified rather than, and we go deep into our area that we really see as our specialization.
Okay, so tell us about this mat here.
So this is what I call my map, and it really, all my inspiration from the collection builds from this, which at the very center is our inner light. And so our inner light is the golden thread that binds everyone. It's the divine in us, and it's our common element that we all share. And then from around there, you'll see there's a static group that represents what I call the foundational keys. And that's everything you're born with, like your the date of birth, your birthstones, your astrological chart, the culture that you grow up with, your last name, things that are kind of given to you, by either your birth parents or the family that raised you, which can be two different things. And so I really think it's important, and why we call it foundational keys, is to know what that is and to how much it affects us. But the beautiful thing is that it's not a self-fulfilling destiny, that you still have will and agency over your life. And so that's where the tenets come in, and that's why they're not fixed in any kind of position. They are the symbols that surround us, and that's your belief system, and that's what you choose to act on. And so they're in this area around you where you can pull into your life, what you need at that moment or what you think reflects you best. And those are individual choices. It's about the individuation process, about knowing who you are, knowing what your propensities are, knowing how your culture influenced you, and then deciding, okay, and what am I doing with that?
Amazing. And how do you organize the store? Is it that there's tenant charms in a certain place?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, show me how the store is organized.
So, there's a lot of information that I'm trying to communicate in a succinct way. And I have to tell you, that's like an oxymoron because there's nothing succinct about me. And I know that, there's nothing edited about me. So I'm constantly trying to figure out how to edit myself, how, to communicate this in a way that is, I don't know,
digestible.
Digestible, thank you, that's the right word. So I've formed each area by the tenant that it's part of. Okay. And I have 10 tenants. And so this one is resilience. And so everything in that represents resilience and the idea that blossoms bloom even in darkness and that there are going to be thorns, but that we will overcome it. There's also a sparrow as part of that, which represents hope, because the Latin words for hope is sparrow, which is S-P-E-R-O, which sounds like sparrow. This one is Reverie, the Path to Joy, and it's composed of multiple symbols. They're like a spade, the butterfly wing, which represents the soul.
And did you study Latin or astrology or?
I study a lot of things. But I would say probably, Carl Jung is really important to me, and the whole idea of archetypal symbolism. I do study things. I read a lot, and but it's a lifelong interest. It's something that mysticism, has always been something that I've been interested in my entire life, and so symbolism and is often a part of that.
Okay, amazing. And then also too, just before we forget, you're not from New York originally, but you came here and you stayed here. Why?
I mean, I'm not originally from New York, but I will never live anywhere else. I love New York. I find New York is, one, gives people opportunity that you could not have anywhere else. So, I'm originally from Brownsville, Texas, which is a border town. I just simply couldn't do this there, But it's not just because of, the level of wealth that's in that city versus this city. It's also the fact that there's no hand engravers or a bench jeweler, and the density of population that New York has allows people to just get so specialized in their field. I mean, it's like we have pickle shops in New York,
rice pudding restaurants.
No one else can have that, simply because there is the population that enough people love rice pudding that that they can go really go and see the variety of it.
And did you work with a lot of jewelers and source a lot of things from the jewelry district here?
Well, we don't source anything. We actually create everything.
Okay, and so for raw material, or maybe you don't get raw materials from the jewelry district.
We actually buy recycled gold.
Okay.
And so we do get our raw materials from different places. But even our chains are handmade. Wow. We have hand cast chains, and so it's I would say that the jewelry district was more important to me at the very beginning, when I really didn't understand as much about the jewelry industry. It was one place that I could go to, and I literally went from studio to studio trying to find makers that in which I can help to create my vision. But then now over time, we've learned that Thailand does incredible diamond pave. We've learned that our strong heart chain, it really is best made in Italy, because they have this incredible engineering. And so I think that in terms of sourcing, as I've gained knowledge and as the business has developed, I've been able to really, go to different areas that, do what they do best.
Specialize. Yeah. But that was maybe a good sort of starting point to have access to that.
Absolutely. It's one of, the gold medallions, the idea of doing, lost wax printing and casting. I mean, I think that the jewelry district is incredible with that skill.
Okay, and they do all of that.
Yeah.
Interesting.